Holy shit, guys, the number's bigger! So, Sonic Frontiers just got its third update, Final Horizon. This update introduces a new story and new playable characters. How does the update stack up, and did it live up to the hype that Sonic Team set for it? First, a brief look at the lead up to the release of Final Horizon. We have, of course, been looking forward to Update 3 for months now, with it being hinted at by the Sonic Twitter accounts in this image, though we wouldn't see anything related to Update 3 specifically until August 22nd, announcing its release on the 28th night of September. The Sonic Twitter account would post a few more times about Final Horizon throughout September, leading up to the release of the update. These tweets would be mostly videos detailing either the story, showing off the new songs made for the updates, or saying the update is out, with only one image tweet being posted reminding everyone that the update is coming out. That was quick. Not very much like the Sonic Twitter account to just post 4 times about an upcoming game or an update to a game, but they were posting a lot about Sonic Superstar, so I can excuse less posts. That does mean that writing and editing and reading the script has become much easier now. When the update released, the Sonic Twitter community exploded. People immediately started complaining about the update making the game too hard, despite these being the same people complaining about the game being too easy. This would get made fun of by almost everyone, and then people would get attacked for criticizing the game again, and that would get called out too, yada yada yada. This community sucks.
Oh wow, tell me something I don't know.
Super Troopers has a user score of 7.2 on Metacritic.
What the fuck is a Super Troopers?
Actually getting into the game, nothing was actually changed in the base game. However, Ouranos has a new addition, a giant ring that starts another story. This is the Final Horizon storyline, which is recommended by the game to do after you beat the base game. This makes me think Final Horizon's story isn't canon and is instead an alternate timeline, but it would be cool if it was the canonical ending to Frontiers instead of the underwhelming Space Invaders Galaga-esque boss we got instead. Going through the ring starts the Final Horizon storyline, and after an explanation for everything that is about to happen, we get to play as the new playable characters, Amy, Knuckles, and Tails in that order. You have to take turns playing as each character in a specific order, with you only being able to switch to the next character after you've completed a part of the story as them. You do eventually unlock the ability to switch to specific characters whenever you want, but you have to progress to the very end of the story to obtain this. I'll explain each character in order, starting with Amy Rose. Honestly, Amy's my personal favorite due to her ability to traverse the map in a very fun fashion. She uses her tarot cards as either a weapon, a makeshift TSMU-6 wheel bike, or as a floaty helicopter thing, which I immediately called Amycopter as soon as I saw it in game. She also uses her hammer, but not as much as some might have hoped, judging from the posts on Twitter complaining about how Sega's pushing her interests in tarot cards on everyone's faces. As if they weren't already doing that with Rouge's interest in gems and Knuckles' interest in protecting the Master Emerald. And yet, Amy is yet again very comparable to Sonic in every quality. If you use her card spin boost with her card float ability, you can travel long distances without ever touching the ground. Do this at the top of a tower and you can travel the entire map in 1 minute and 22 seconds. Sonic can run across the map in just 1 minute and 20 seconds, but that's not that different. And deducting the startup time for Amy's card spin boost, she's probably just as fast as him when you combine it with Amycopter. Of course, you're going to be going to locations around the map by ground, not air, but this made collecting skill points trivial as Amy, especially if you use other characters as challenge courses as platforms to getting Amy's points quicker and or easier. I even did the entirety of one of Tails' challenges as Amy just to get some points at the end of one of Amy's specific challenge courses. Next up is Knuckles, and I have quite something to say about this red prickly ball of ouch oof ow. So, to those who've played the adventure games and loathed the treasure hunting stages, would you enjoy them better if Knuckles not only controlled worse, but also had to relearn how to punch? If I were to boil down what upgrading Knuckles is like, it's basically, hey look, that ability he had stock in Adventure 2. Hey look, that's other ability he had stock in Adventure 2. Very few of his upgrades are actual upgrades, and instead were just, yeah, he had that already abilities. This ultimately made me think Knuckles was stupid, which is a horrible contrast to how Knuckles was portrayed in the Knuckles prologue video, which explains how he got trapped on Ares Island. They tried to portray Knuckles as someone who's actually capable of taking care of himself, but when you get to play as him in Frontiers, he's about as competent as a toddler who's just figured out how to walk. Though, once he regains his ability to punch, you can do something that took me by surprise. You can gain height infinitely as Knuckles. Ah! If you follow me on Twitter, you'll probably have seen the 4 clips I posted of me obliterating these probably really difficult Knuckles challenges with this exploit. I say probably because I wouldn't know, I skipped them! I have no idea if anyone else found this before me, but I feel like I'm at least one of the first to publicly show it, so I'm just gonna name this the Glide Cancel Punching exploit, just so this exploit has a name in the speedrunning community. If it gets patched, I'll say so on the top line of the description. Though, Sonic Team, if you're watching, this is due to whatever is keeping track of if Knuckles has punched, resetting every time the falling animation is interrupted. I would instead track whether he has landed since he last punched, kind of like how you can't boost in the air again after doing it once until you land. Side note, if you pair this exploit with Knuckles' infinite glide, you can turn him into a Boeing 747. On to Tails now, who's thankfully got a legit way to break the game that doesn't require an exploit. Tails is kind of an interesting character when it comes to controls. He borrows the least from Sonic out of all 3 of the playable characters, and in the weirdest area. Tails can run, jump, fly, spin dash, and boost. But he can't homing attack. This perplexed me at first, but then I gained his wrench ability, and it started to make sense. The reason he can't homing attack is because Sonic Team prioritized this yellow boy being able to throw wrenches instead. Why kill them with kindness when you can kill them with wrenches? I don't see a problem with this, as all of Sonic's friends are supposed to be unique compared to him, though Tails' upgrades are insane to put it lightly. So his Cyclone from Adventure 2 returns, yeah? Turns out it skips almost everything with the exception of roughly 3 challenges whose rewards are boxed in. Yeah, this upgrade is dumb, but the only problem is you go super fast with it, meaning you're gonna have to compensate for your incredible speed when it comes to maneuvers. So when it comes to challenge, Tails is easily the best at avoiding it if we're speaking legitimate abilities. However, we know who reigns supreme when we're talking exploits. Get that out of here, this ain't 06! Though you can say Tails' flight is kind of strange compared to previous games. I personally think it's fine. If you combo it with Cyclone, you can get wherever you're going and not pass it by a kilometer. When I was hunting for skill points as Tails, I used Cyclone to get the location and switched to his standard fly to slow down and land. Overall, the new playable characters were fun, even if controlling them was a bit mixed. Amy was the most refined and actually fun, Tails was the best at getting anywhere quickly without exploiting, and Knuckles was probably cousins with his boom counterparts with the glide cancel punching exploit. Alabama looking ass! Though, side note, I did also find this bug with Amy when I was going into this temple where the Silver Emerald is on Ouranos. I have no idea if I just got unlucky with this, but someone pointed out they also encountered it, so make of that what you will. Also, Toby encountered this during his playthrough of Frontiers. He got clipped out of bounds during something we'll discuss in a minute, but nonetheless we were perplexed, especially me since I was also tackling the same task, so I wasn't looking when it happened.
What the fuck?
What the shit?
Okay, the music just came back. What the fuck?
Yeah, apparently this happened.
I'm out of bounds. What the fucking shit?
When you get through all 3 of the new playable characters, you switch back to Sonic. We already know how Sonic controls because you play as him throughout the entire base game, so no need for explanations. However, this is where I start really having a bit of a problem with the game. I'll also warn, there are some spoilers, so go play Final Horizon if you haven't already. Hell, play Sonic Frontiers in general if you have been holding out for this long, or if you've just found out about the game. it's a great game. Anyway, Sonic is tasked with climbing these towers that aren't here in the base game, while his holographic friends go in to collect the Chaos Emeralds. There are 5 towers in total, with one of them being a surprise after completing the 4th tower, and I swear these towers are confused. So generally a game is supposed to get harder the further along you are in it. However, these towers are the complete opposite. The first tower is genuinely the hardest damn tower out of the bunch, and it wouldn't be so bad if they added a checkpoint. If you get no checkpoints throughout all 5 of these towers, this is fine with towers 3, 4, and 5, given the fact that they are the easiest towers to climb for some ungodly reason. However, towers 1 and 2 are so difficult that at least one checkpoint would suffice in making it easier to get back to the part you fell all the way to the bottom at. Rhea's towers were difficult to get up, but at least they had checkpoints. Rhea was fun because it gave checkpoints. If the Ouranos towers were reversed in difficulty and the most difficult ones were given checkpoints, they'd be fine in my eyes. Though, I think they were catering the first 2 towers' difficulty to the insane movement jocks of the Sonic Frontiers community who have such an understanding of Sonic's movement that not even a modded cyberspace level designed after math homework would be that hard for them. While this is fine, think of the casual players and realize checkpoints don't make the game easier, they make it less annoying. If you want to keep the challenge in, have it so that there are no checkpoints on hard, but normal and easy do have them. Then maybe changing this setting will actually do something. When you get to the top of these towers, you have to complete a trial, which is basically defeat this. These trials range in difficulty from difficult, but it's easy to understand what to do, to a stroll through the park.
Damn, is that a Kunoichi?
Honestly, after the first 2 towers, this was a welcome break from the difficulty of them. However, the surprise 5th tower is radically different when you get to the top. It's not just a trial, it's a goddamn boss rush. It's the same thing! There are a couple of differences between this and Battle Rush, but they're so minor. Trial 5 might as well be the additional mode to Battle Rush, Boss Rush mode, because that's what it is, just more annoying. You can't get any additional rings and you must perfect parry every attack. Every attack. This was grueling. There are 3 bosses to defeat here: Giganto, Wyvern, and Knight. I could do Giganto just fine, I already knew the speedrun strats to kicking his ass, but Wyvern was infuriatingly impossible. The main problems I had was the task being way too hard for someone like me, a more casual gamer. If you want to finish Trial 5, you need speedrunner levels of accuracy with parrying, because perfect parrying 90% of the time means perfect parrying. You can spam parries to have a 60% guarantee of getting it first try, but you have to rely on luck when spamming, because I said 60% for a reason. I literally went an entire session getting cockblocked by Wyvern because of perfect parrying. If it were removed, it'd still be plenty difficult if you didn't do your research like I did. Alternatively, adding checkpoints after every boss would have helped massively, as, again, I spent most of my time here trying to get past Wyvern, and would have really preferred if I could have just held the parry through everything, or have had a checkpoint after every boss. But no! I had to do everything perfectly, first try, like a speedrunner, in order to get yet another chance with Knight. When I did get to Knight, I initially tried to do the speedrunner strat, but that didn't work. So I tried to do it the normal way, after looking up what the normal way was, because I had forgotten what it was, and that took too long. So I just resorted to spamming the stomp combo on his ass until he keeled over dead. After finishing the 5th tower's trial, you finally get access to all the characters. The way you switch characters is like Coco Lennon over here, which is also the way you start the final battle. So you better get your eggs in order before the fight if you want to complete another story with everything done and collected. For those who watched my original review of Sonic Frontiers, remember when I said, and we go super and have one of the weakest final bosses in a Sonic game ever? Yeah, they rectified that. Now the final boss is even harder. And this time justifiably so. First off, you have to get through this weirdly easy fight with Supreme, which is the only part of the fight that is similar to the base game's final boss. However, this is a ploy to get you to weaken Supreme enough to get taken over by the moon from Majora's Mask. You now have to perfect parry everything the end throws at you. That's its name for some reason. And all the while, this guy regenerates his health via this purple cord connected to Supreme. And guess what? This is less annoying than Trial 5's boss rush! I mean, I did have to look up a video of someone completing the final boss to figure out what to do to progress. But this boss doesn't punish you way too hard for merely screwing up. You have all the rings you went into this fight with, which is a lot of rings if you're maxed out on ring capacity, and if you max out your power, you're going into the fight able to do a buttload of damage. Perfect parrying is way more forgiving in this fight because the timing is way more obvious, unlike this damn snake from Chernobyl. Just parry half a second before you get hit, and the parry will land. Easy to execute if you have some experience in speedrunning or in professional gaming, but will require practice if you're more casual. Yet, this doesn't feel like it was made to cater to the speedrunning scene, which is good, but it's very unclear what you're supposed to be doing. I tried to do a lot of damage to the end. Found out he regenerated his health too quickly for me to do anything. I tried parrying his attacks, and while that initially worked, that was due to something else, not the parrying. I then tried side-looping him into the air. That didn't do anything. Then, by some miracle, I found out through a video that you're supposed to be quick and heavy with your hits to his purple cord to dislodge it and cut his regenerative ability. Side-looping him and parrying his projectiles until he attempts to strike you himself merely served to give another chance at dealing damage to him while he's still connected to the purple moon in the sky. What's the point then? While it's cool to figure out this stuff while simply attempting the boss, this made me wish there was some character dialogue to clue you into what you're supposed to do, which would have helped a lot. Like, maybe Tails would have went, "Look, he's regenerating his health. He might be regenerating from that cable on his neck," when the end started regenerating health. By the way, it's right bumper for those using a controller. I don't know what's for keyboard, but that's how you select the cable so you can violently unplug him. A lot more of the boss is also very unclear, and the game told me on the game over screen what I was supposed to do when this happened. And that wasn't very pleasant. It just made me go, why didn't you tell me that sooner? Even older games did this, using in-game dialogue that fits the scene to give you an idea of what to do. And it isn't even that hard to implement, and it helps a lot. Hell, Sonic Generations does this, and while it gets really obnoxious after a while, it still helps. Just to clarify, I'm not bashing the boss. It's miles better than what we got in the base game, and really makes me hope that this is the canon ending to Frontiers. I just think it could have used with some clever clarification to avoid this. Cue the ending scene, and that's Sonic Frontiers Final Horizon. I would recommend you play this before the base game's final boss and all that, because honestly, this leaves a much bigger impact compared to Mr. Angry Lunar Satellite over there. This just feels more like the definitive ending to Frontiers, and I know I've said this twice already, it really should be considered the canon ending if it isn't already. It's just so much better than what we got at release, and I'm not backing down on that. All in all, Final Horizons was probably the best update out of all three of them. It gave us a chance to play as our favorite characters, for better or for worse. This update also brought us a much more interesting and an actually difficult final boss compared to the base games version, which I'm always surprised whenever I see the post saying, "Oh my god, this was so hard." Have you played the hacking minigames? It's the same thing. However, I'm thankful we got a final boss that's actually in line with the other bosses of Sonic Frontiers. Now it's not just 3 guys and a giant rock. Now it's 3 guys and 1 guy that gets taken over by a giant rock. Anyway, I've recently made a revolutionary discovery in the scientific field of discovering and identifying random things. So I've been questioning what this thing was for a while, but I finally discovered what it was. This ball of pain I have right here, it's a porcupine!